but our team is working tirelessly, and I really appreciate their work and really appreciate your patience with us as well. And we look forward to streamlining everything. If you had any inconvenience yesterday while you were coming here, so I really appreciate, and I'm grateful for both the delegates and the team that's working on it. Before we move ahead, I would love to have our chief guests on the stage. There's a couple of people joining online as well. Dr. Rao, if you can join us. Gurpriya, can you join us? Ambada ma'am from Kila will also join shortly. So moving ahead, as Rumit mentioned, I was a past Lcoy delegate last year, and I think Srishti and Hemavati was organizing that, and it really caught my attention on how a lot of I have met a lot of you as well at the Lcoy, and how we went ahead speaking about climate change and a lot of other issues, and carrying forward the discussions to making the national youth statement and everything else, and thought that, okay, we need to bring this to Kerala. We need to work as Bring Back Green Foundation, and right now this time we have got an amazing partner, the Indian Youth Climate Network, and we are co-hosting together, and we plan to bring it to Kerala. And with the support of Kerala Institute of Local Administration, we got this amazing venue and the facilities that we are using right now. So I'll just officially welcome you all here and welcome you to Kerala first. How many of you, it's the first time in Kerala? Wow. Okay, we are really proud that we could bring you to Kerala. And how do you feel? Ah, man, still gloomy. Yeah. All right. So I'll just move ahead. We have some amazing 3 days lined up. Any issues you want us to resolve regarding anything that's happening here, get in touch with us. We'll do our best to do everything possible. And we have an amazing field visit coming up tomorrow. We'll be going out, except let's wait for the rain situation and see how that goes. But I hope all of you carried your umbrellas. Yeah. All right, great. So welcome to the Local Conference of Youth India 2023. Today, we stand on the precipice of change, a moment we have eagerly anticipated. And the Lcoy, me and Srishti and a lot of others have been working for the past 6 months or more tirelessly to sort of bring it to perfection, bring every component, your travel, your everything, to picture perfect situation. But then I know there's some issues that has happened, but moving on. However, instead of waiting until then, I want to begin by expressing my heartfelt gratitude. A gratitude is not a delayed reaction. It's a sincere acknowledgement of the dedication of our incredible volunteers who have toiled tirelessly to make this gathering possible. I stand before you today delivering this address because of their unwavering commitment. But this conference is not about us, it's about you, the youth, the delegates. Each one of you represents a beacon of hope in the youth climate movement and the climate space. We extend our warmest welcome to one and you present here. Regardless of your journey in the climate journey itself, there's a lot of people who are just starting out. There's a lot of people who are professionals, working professionals, who have been volunteering your time, who have been running their own organizations or institutions, campaigns and all that. Regardless of where you are in your climate journey, you're all welcome here and all your voices matter. We would like to especially welcome those from the vulnerable or indigenous backgrounds, and we recognize that despite everything, you can inspire us all to continue to make a difference. Our journey to this moment has mirrored the ups and downs of our collective climate struggle. Climate change has touched all our lives, and as young people, our future is on the line. It's imperative that we have a voice in the policies and decisions that will shape our destiny. Too often, our voices go unheard or are disregarded. For years, young people around the world have been advocating for change at local, regional, and international levels. It's a duty to build a community that empowers each other to persevere, and that's precisely what Lcoy aims to achieve. For those of you who are new to the concept of Lcoy, it stands for the Local Conference of Youth organized at the country level. And this year, especially, we have a record number of Lcoys happening all across the globe, around 105. Its purpose is to unite young people across each nation, creating a space to amplify youth climate action at a local level while contributing to international conference of youth that's scheduled to take place in late November in Dubai, which precedes the UN Climate Change Conference of Parties. Lcoy is a project of Yango, the official children and youth constituency to the UNFCCC. The Lcoy's Global South focal point is there with us today, and she'll be addressing you today in the evening. The outcome of Lcoy is the National Youth Statement, a powerful contribution to the Global Youth Statement, which has made marvelous achievements over the past few years in the COP processes. This document synthesizes the collective demands of children and youth worldwide, represented by Yango, urging global leaders to make decisive changes at the COP. Today, I stand here with the hope that we can come together and craft a statement that not only reflects the crucial perspectives we want policymakers to consider, but also leaves you inspired by the remarkable journeys of the people that you'll meet here. And that's what matters the most, the people that you'll meet here. We must acknowledge our partners whose unwavering support has brought us to this point. To all of you, we give a warm welcome. Please. We would like to thank Dr. Joy Ellerman and Kila for their extensive support for Lcoy. Dr. Joy Ellerman couldn't be with us in person. He will be joining online and addressing you. We would like to thank and extend a warm welcome to UNICEF, Yuva, and Purpose as co-conveners for the conference, and every representative from UNICEF, Yuva, and Purpose who are gathered with us today. We would also further like to welcome and thank our partners supporting us from various fronts, including Climate Science, the Climate Group, Tears of Earth, and the Climate Action Network South Asia, and the representatives we have from them today. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite my colleague, Srishti, to take over. And thank you. Welcome again to Kerala.
Hello, everyone. I'm facing a little issue, but yes. Okay. Hello, everyone. A very, very good morning to all of you. I will not take much time because I think the MOEFCC director is already here. Just taking a few minutes to tell you about how excited I am to host my third Lcoy. So that's, I think, the most exciting piece from my side of the story. And I'm sure you would be, I don't know, we could interact. We are going to interact a lot during these 3 days. We are having a lot of technical sessions. We are going to dive deeper into technical topics tomorrow. We are going to get exposure from the communities, getting to know what they face currently and have been facing for the past few years. And the third day is all about the National Youth Statement, which Akhilesh has already talked about. I just wanted to brief you a little bit on how we have actually come together as a team. So BBG is working with the Indian Youth Climate Network. I am on the board of the Indian Youth Climate Network, and that's how we partnered together. The Indian Youth Climate Network has been a national network steering different youth-led organizations, youth-based organizations, young people from all over India, bringing together, bringing them together for, capacity building on climate policy and various other things. You might be following IYCN already. So we had partnered together. There are many, many people. Let me tell you, there are about 30 people working for Lcoy for the past 4 months, including you might be knowing some of the faces already. You might be getting a lot of WhatsApp messages on the delegates group, but you would be looking at them. They have the yellow name tags like me. You can identify them and you can get in touch with them for any support. They have been working tirelessly. They're all our volunteers, including us, who have been, working for the Lcoy India and bringing all of you together and trying to make it a seamless experience and also an enjoying experience. So I think actually like to really talk about how crucial is the Ministry of Forest, Environment and Climate Change for us. And we are so grateful for them to for joining us. They are going to talk about how we could support them in their own initiatives at the national level. As we have been telling, that cooperation is the key to solving the climate change crisis. Without all of us together, we won't be able to do that. And we are so happy to have MOEFCC, who's kind of leading the climate change initiatives in the country. And we will get to know from the director himself how we can support, as young people can partner with MOEFCC, and how much we can support in the various initiatives, including the Mission Life, which was launched a couple of years back. So I think the director is already here with us, and I'll call Rumit here, and we will be here, all our teammates, including me and Akhilesh, for anything you need, anything on the thematic front, any issues you are facing in terms of language barrier or anything, you can please come up to us. We all have yellow badges. Please get in touch with us for any support. Since we are running a bit late, I'll call Rumit and then we can start with the high-level ceremony. And thank you so much for gathering here. I hope you have a great experience of Lcoy India. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you so much, Akhilesh and Srishti. So let's move to the high-level opening ceremony. I mean, we are honored that we have been joined by a great panel. I'll just introduce the panel to you. We have Shri Amit Raj Ji, Director of Climate Change and International Cooperation Department of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India. We have Mr. KL Rao, Chief of UNICEF Chennai, Dr. Joy Eleman from Kila, who is the director, and we are also joined by Ms. Gurpriya Singh. So let's start the high-level opening ceremony. First, we would like to introduce Shri Amit Raji. He is an Indian Revenue Services batch of 2007 and currently serving as the Director of the Climate Change and International Cooperation Department at the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. He will deliver the inaugural address. He is actually connected via Zoom link. And over to you, sir. Shri Amit Rajji, just I would request you to just hold on for a second. We are just checking why can't we hear you.
Amit Raj sir, you are not audible. Can you speak now? No, you are not audible.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Mahatma Hall, can you hear him?
Yes.
Anub.
Yes.
I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir. Yes,
you are, sir.
Just let me know when to start.
Yes, sir. You can go ahead, sir. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to speak on this event. Considering that we have a major population of the country being youth, and their participation is, of course, should be considerable and will be very much appreciated in the climate action of the country. So first of all, I will also like to congratulate the organizers of this event and giving me an opportunity to speak on this platform. Friends, when we think about climate action, the basic principles of climate action on which we deliberate and discuss at international platforms comes to the mind. The principle of equity, the principle of common but differentiated responsibility and respective capability in the light of national circumstances. These principles are actually the basis on which we decide and we deliberate on international platform how the global climate action should be moving forward, keeping equity and these principles in mind. But equity as a principle is not only international, but it is also intergenerational. And here I want to say that it is the youth of the country who has to think of sustainable development as we talk about mitigation, adaptation, means of implementation, uh, the different arms of climate action. These arms are in itself a topic of discussion, and equity forms the bedrock in all these climate actions. Climate change as a threat is not in future, it is right now happening. We are facing a global crisis across the world in form of landslides, in form of floods, in form of extreme weather events or slow onset of events. These events are resulting into economic as well as non-economic losses. In our country, we have varied topography ranging from long range of Himalayas to 7,500 kilometer long coastline. We have more than 1,500 islands, which makes us extremely vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. Friends, you must be aware of the calamities which happened in the last few months in Uttarakhand and Himachal. These activities are a clear indicator that the climate action needs to be speeded up. We need to take steps in a very rapid manner, but also taking care of the just transition while doing and taking climate action. The increased impacts of the climate change are due to large-scale emission taking place across the world. But this emission across the world has also inequity in the sense that today we have a limited carbon budget with us. The best available science talks about a carbon budget where almost 52%, more than 52% of the carbon budget has been consumed by the countries which developed during the period of 1850 to 1989, and the remaining less than 50% was consumed in 1990 to 2019 period. So we can say in 140 years since industrial revolution began, in 140 years, the majority chunk of the carbon budget has been consumed, and those are the developed countries who have already taken up a large chunk of the carbon budget. So with the limited carbon budget we have to decide and take the course where we can actually decide our path on sustainable development. And considering that the small carbon budget we have for the developing country, we need to follow the development path which releases less of GHG emissions with higher reduction in emission intensity and increased avenues for carbon sequestration. The relationship between the GDP growth and the emission has to be understood in terms of the emission intensity. It is emission intensity which is also mentioned in our nationally determined targets, which we have submitted it to the UNFCCC registry. The emission intensity of the country was earlier decided to be 33% reduction in the emission intensity target, which has now been increased to 45%. There is a science behind this targets which we have given to ourselves, and we have already achieved the 33% target which we gave to ourselves, and now in the revised NDC targets, we have increased the reduction to 45%. Friends, I want to tell you about the LTLEDS, which is the long-term low emission development strategy, which the country gave it to itself during and released during the COP27 in November 22 last year. And that strategy elaborates different ways and means of reducing the carbon emission in different sectors, primarily the 7 sectors of the economy. The low carbon development strategy of the country has been developed considering the significant energy needs for development. The strategy also considers that with almost 18% of the world population, countries' per capita annual emission is just 1/3 of the global average. The sustainable development pathways require increased reliance on renewable energy sources. In the NDCs which we have given, we have also determined how much non-fossil fuel based energy sources will be utilized for electricity generation. We have already exceeded almost 43% of our installed energy capacity from non-fossil fuel based sources, and we will be surely achieving the target of 50% as well. If we talk about sectors in transport sector or in any other sector, how we can move ahead, how we can have a sustainable development. Friends, as a youth of the country, it is also important for you to think the ways and means of actually reducing and having a sustainable development and devising methodologies or inventing new things. That can be your contribution. Your contribution, in my thinking, is a participative. Your how you can articulate things, how you can innovate things. That is the contribution your youth can make in the climate action. I was talking about the transport sector. The increased efforts to be made may be channelized to EV schemes where we use non-fossil fuel based sources for transportation. In the urban planning sector, the cities may be designed in such a manner where the cooling requirements of the building is less, the energy requirements is less, and where we can think of housing alongside the jobs of the people, so that the traveling is reduced. In the building sector, the low carbon construction material can be used so that the emissions are drastically reduced. Besides the mitigation centric activities, I would also like to highlight adaptation, which takes a primacy when as a developing country we talk about climate actions. To sustain the growth and development gains made by the country so far, we need to have adaptation measures, which includes developing early warning systems, making people aware of the impacts of the climate change, developing climate resilient infrastructure or climate resilient agriculture. These are some of the adaptation measures which will help the country take a course of sustainable development. Of course, there are research gaps and the implementation gaps which need to be filled with the right approach. And the transition to the low carbon sustainable development requires support in terms of finance, in terms of technology, and in terms of the capacity building. Again, I'll come back to the principle of equity. While developed countries has consumed the major share of the carbon budget, they are bound to provide us the required financial technological support. The Paris Agreement as well as the UNFCCC Convention both talk about the bounden duty of the developed country to take the responsibility to provide support on financial and technological terms. They have to take the lead in making ambitious targets. UNFCCC and its Paris Agreement talks about climate justice. It talks about these principles. And when we talk about the sustainable lifestyle, there also these principles come into play. These are the things which I wanted to tell you about the global level climate action policies. If I talk about the policies which we at the national level are taking, so we have NAPCC and SAPCC, which is the National Action Policy on Climate Change, and then down the line State Action Policy on Climate Change. The National Action Policy on Climate Change, it was launched in 2008, formulated in the backdrop of India's voluntary commitment to reduce emission intensity of its GDP. It was also meant to focus on key adaptation requirements and creation of scientific knowledge and preparedness for dealing with climate change. NAPCC encompasses 9 core missions, which includes solar energy, enhanced energy efficiency, sustainable habitat, water, sustaining the Himalayan ecosystem, strategic knowledge for climate change, Green India, and sustainable agriculture. These missions are anchored in different ministries which are implementing these missions and are doing projects under these missions. Coming to the state action policy on climate change, friends, we have 34 state action plans where each state has done the vulnerability assessment, determined the vulnerable sectors, vulnerable areas where the impact of climate change is huge, and drawn their policies and programs to reduce the vulnerability and to reduce the losses, economic and non-economic both. Going ahead with the state action plans, after the beginning of the 34 state action plan, now the states has also started doing revision of the state action plan. This revision of state action plan has been initiated keeping in mind the NDC targets, the NAPCC, the SDG targets for 2030, and other national policies in mind, and revising the state action plan on climate change has been initiated. So far, we have almost 1/3 of the states who have already completed this, and others are in pipeline. Now I'll cover a little bit about the life principles. As mentioned earlier by the anchor there, the life was introduced by our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi during COP26 at Glasgow as an India-led global mass movement. This was launched as a global movement at Kevadia, Gujarat in October last year, 2022. This movement is for mindful and deliberate utilization instead of mindless and destructive consumption to protect and preserve the environment. Life is part of India's updated NDCs also. It propagates a healthy and sustainable way of living based on traditions and values of conservation and moderation, including through a mass movement as a key to combating climate change. LIFE, which stands for Lifestyle for Environment, aims to nudge individuals and communities to adopt environment-friendly actions to become pro-planet persons. Mission Life seeks to translate the vision of life into measurable impacts, and it involves 7 themes which focuses on diverse range of areas that are essential to creating a more sustainable lifestyle. Under these themes are listed 75 non-exhaustive life action points, which provide individuals with actions and behaviors they can adopt to live life more sustainably. The LIFE mission is designed with the objective to mobilize at least 1 billion Indians and other global citizens to take individual and collective action for protecting and conserving the environment in the period 2022 to 2028. Within India, at least 80% of all villages and urban local bodies are aimed at becoming environment friendly by 2028. Life mission has three phases. The first phase is the change in demand, which is currently going on. The second phase is change in supply, and the third is change in policy. In change in demand, nudging individuals across the world to practice simple yet effective environment-friendly actions in their daily lives is the motive. In the change in supply phase, the changes in large-scale individual demand is expected. And in change in policy, the changes which happens in demand and supply and its impact on the policy is expected. The long-term vision of Mission Life is to trigger shifts in large-scale industrial and government policies that can support both sustainable consumption and production. Friends, I talked about role of youth in climate action, and I'll reiterate that the role of youth is to innovate, to articulate, and to participate. These are the roles of youth in our climate action. We have majority population of youth in our country in the age group of 15 to 29 years. The youth of the country uh, need to be included in the climate action at an early age, because the climate action are the responsibility of not just the governments but also of the individuals of the country. It is the individual behavior and the practices which can help in reducing the impacts of the climate change. And how they can help? They can help by innovating new things. There are opportunities to innovate new technologies for adaptation, for mitigation, develop and devise new ideas on climate action. They can articulate new thoughts on what climate action should take the path of. They can participate in the country's public awareness, public meetings, conferences, to raise awareness about the impacts of the climate change. Majority of the population in the country is not aware of the mitigation or adaptation things. It is you who can participate and make them aware. The youth of the country has the potential to spread message on what should be the course of information generation, and how we can correct the path towards a more sustainable development. I end here, and I open the floor for any questions, please.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And it's very wonderfully how you have mentioned that what role equity plays in let's say youth-led movement that we are experiencing here, and how from mountains to oceans, how we are actually experiencing extreme weather conditions. I mean, plastic is everywhere, pollution is everywhere, and the life initiative. And you very rightly said that how not just the government, all the stakeholders, be it individuals, academic institutions, everybody has to come together now to revert the climate change. So with now moving forward, I would like to invite and first, okay. So are there any questions that you want to raise, like you want to ask Sri Amitra ji? Only 2 questions. The rest of the question will directly to him. He can answer later on. 2 questions. Anyone?
Yes, please.
Yeah, we have one in the back. Okay, we have two people.
Yes.
Do introduce yourself.
Yeah, myself Anak. I'm the project head of Bring Back Green Foundation. So my question is that, like, in the past 3 years, several acts regarding environment protection were amended, and there have been certain protests and other committee hearings from youth as well, but there were no much action with favor to the concerns raised by the society or the youth being noted. And for instance, even when the corona was, I mean, or the in the era of pandemonium mainly, the Environment Impact Assessment Act or the Forest Act, Biodiversity Act, EPR, many acts were amended. And as you were mentioning, there are plethora of environment restrictions happening as well with respect to the amendment. So what is your response to that? Like, even in a forum like youth, where we are also striving hard to eke out a living or to have a sustainable life, what can be more expected for with respect to protection of the environment? This is my question.
Yeah, thank you for the question. As I mentioned earlier, as part of the action policy of the country, we have at two levels, that is national action policy and the state action policy. So while the states decide the action policy based on the vulnerability assessment they make in the state, and they determine which district or which sector in the state is more vulnerable to climate change, they decide the policy for that state. But while deciding the policy, there is the stakeholder consultation which is done, where all the departments, relevant departments, the scholars, the academicians, the civil society organization, they all are consulted, and all the stakeholders' views are incorporated while deciding the policy of that state. So it is not it is a holistic kind of policy which is decided by the state, taking into consideration the demands of various sections and sectors of the society. So it takes care of all the aspects, what all can be taken into the policy, and how the state can have a sustainable development policy, leaving no one behind.
Right. Thank you, sir. So we'll take one more question. Yes.
Hello. Namaskaram, this is Ratna Singh. I am founder of an international youth-led organization, Earth Safety Wall. And as of being a youth climate activist, I used to interact with different sections of society. So my question is, when we talk about action and awareness, so what are we expecting from climate refugees? Like, do you think what actions they can take from themselves? And do you think that we should only focus on their awareness only? Thank you.
Thank you, madam. That's a very good question. Climate refugee is a very important topic of discussion, and considering that a lot of climate related calamities are happening. So the action and the policies, as I mentioned, that takes into account different sections of the society, and climate refugees are not left behind. The policies, when we talk about the adaptation policies, early warning systems, creating mass awareness, making people aware of the ways and means where they can, when some calamities are about to come, like cyclone or something like that, they are informed. IMD has devised ways and means of making people aware of warning them before the event occurs. So I think the climate refugees is a topic which is still under consideration, and the policies which are defined and designed has to take into account the needs and demands of the climate refugees also. But having said that, IMD as a major warning, developing major warning systems is yet to reach the different corners of the country where the calamities are occurring. So I think the adaptation measures need to be scaled up. And in that also, as I mentioned, the participation of youth is very important because they can participate in public awareness and the methods how adaptation can be adopted as a measure to tackle climate change.
Shri Amit Rajji, we have a few more questions. So if you allow, can we take one more?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Good morning. I'm Neha Jain and I'm working on climate education and action at the grassroots. My question is that since you talk about NAPCC and SAPCC, so my question is how can youth more intensively involve at the policy making stage, and is something like youth advisory board at the national level in the pipeline for the government?
Thank you for the question. NAPCC and SAPCC are the action policies developed at the national and the state levels. At the state level, as I mentioned, that there are stakeholder consultations which takes place, and the environment department of the state government, they conduct that stakeholder consultation, and based on that, only the policies are determined. And the youth as an association can also participate in that consultation. And I think because all the scholars, academicians, different research institutions, organizations are already participating, the youth are already there and their concerns are already addressed in making the SAPCCs.
Thank you, Sri Amit Rajji, and we would be sharing the national document that we will be getting out of this conference, and we would really love your suggestions and your guidance on that. And thank you so much for joining us. Moving forward now, I would like to our next panelist on the high-level plenary is Mr. KL Rao, who is the Chief of UNICEF Chennai office for Tamil Nadu and Kerala. He is experienced public finance management specialist and has worked across 15 state governments in India with the Ministry of Finance and government and other states and governments of India as well. He has also worked for Ministry of Finance in Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Ghana. He has experience of working with international funding agencies like World Bank, ADB, and DFID. So I request Mr. KL Rao to speak about how youth engagement is a catalyst in the climate action.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. How many of you are still in college? Can you raise your hand? Oh, quite a few. So it looks like 50-50. I thought I'll get only one answer, which is either majority are working or majority on school, college. And then I framed my answer saying that why, I have one teenage son and another who is 22 years old. For both of them, 10 o'clock is pretty early in the morning. It's very early. For my MBA going son, it's not even early. It's like, we just slept half an hour back, and then of course they have late night assignments and all that. Just to wake you up, can you guess in terms of, SDGs, we all know 2030 is the goal, and what could be, we are at a midway. I know most of you would have participated in quiz and debates. At this point of time, at midway, what is the kind of percentage of SDGs? I'm sure all of you have heard about SDGs. What's the percentage of SDGs that are in target or on target as of now? Wild guess, intelligent guess, whatever the guess. Anybody? What percentage of SDGs as of now at the midway stage of 2030 are on track? Yeah, please go ahead. I didn't get you. Can you just be louder a little bit? Yeah, in terms of percentage, if you achieve everything, it's 100%. We are midway. I mean, an intelligence gets midway will be, if not pandemic, we would have been somewhere. With pandemic, it can't be 50%, right? Everybody says we are. Without pandemic, maybe we would have been at 35, 40% because they're ambitious goals. Now you should tell me the answer with pandemic. Yeah, good. So now you're waking up, right? Yeah, it's 15%. Okay. Of course, those are ambitious. That's what targets are to be. You know, it can't be your youngsters, your youth, you know it. You should always aim for something which is unattainable so that you'll at least reach 70 or 80%. So which means if we are at midway stage and we have achieved on target to achieve 15%, and surely we will miss targets by 30%, which means as of now, we might reach 70% of what we targeted. Now, what does that mean? So you can imagine how things are happening. So yesterday there was a report that was released for the first time linking SDGs with climate. This is the first report that has come out. And they're very clear that unless we really build climate into the SDGs, we'll miss the target by a large amount. So it's, I would urge everybody to look at it and see what are the actions that needs to be taken. So the second wake-up question, the G20, right? It just concluded. And if you see in G20 as well, if you see the declaration, there's a complete chapter on, green development pact for sustainable future. And again, there's one of those actions that was mentioned a while back. What is that? In the declaration, has anybody read the declaration? Since you're coming for a youth conference, sorry, I was a teacher for 15 years, so I know how to wake up the students, especially who are sitting in the front, thinking that they'll never be caught. Okay, yeah. So there's a specific mention of a plastic, plastic pollution. And I'm really, every day, my heart aches when Japtos deliver in 10 minutes and you see the amount of plastic that is used. You purchase 3 things, they deliver in 3 separate packets. We stopped buying. We stopped buying because it's like, what it is leading to ultimately. It's already led to it. So therefore, plastic is something very clearly that we can really, really avoid. In fact, I think some of them will be here, when we conducted a children and youth platform called NAMP on June 6, 2023. We could not give water to the participants because in Niyama Sabha, plastic is banned. Okay, it should start from there. But of course, there were some youth advocates who said, no, we should not use plastic. And I think some of you from your organization. I think that is what is required. The beautiful example of, two more small stories, then I'll stop, are one, I'm still yet to see the real final agenda for this program, because I'd been told it's youth-led, so you don't have business to look at the draft agenda. I think that is what empowerment is all about. Yesterday, I've attended a program conducted by Kila, just to tell you how powerful Kila is, where we were trying to reboot what is called child-friendly local governance. It's on 9 thematic areas. And again, thanks to Dr. Joy Lemon, we said child-friendly local government will be patronizing if you don't have children involved in it. And all the nine thematic groups, presentations were done by children. Okay, so that's what we would see. I've woken up the people who are sitting in the front, but the people sitting in the back are sleeping. So yeah, not sleeping, good. You rose your hand. So that's what, I know there was hesitancy to ask a question to the policymakers. I think that hesitancy of action is what is concerning the policymakers. See, the policymaking is not easy, but then policymaking can be hastened when the voices are heard, So this is a wonderful opportunity where youth in action will make a lot of difference. If you look at the most impactful revolutions happen in the world are the ones which are led by youth, those which have started at the college level, school level, which means you have the power to ask unthinkable and achieve it. So that is where I come to the point of saying that when we are talking about responsible, consumption, it starts with every day, what we do in our life, and also in terms of how do we demonstrate to the children who are in the school, demonstrate by actions what it means in terms of respecting the nature. And we have seen how if we don't respect the nature, nature does not forgive us. What's been happening in Uttarakhand, what's been happening here as well. When we are coming to the venue, this is unseasoned, monsoon. These rains are not expected. And those very unfavorable, it affects everybody, So it is important that it's the children who are, need to be not just educated, but the lifestyle itself has to change. And those people who are have been living or have lived ever in Delhi, either you go towards Ghaziabad side or towards Chandigarh, the dump is going up every day. They started having a, road to go up to the dump, right? Vehicles go up, which means we are clear that this is going to go up to the sky. But still we are trigger happy. So it's important that entire lifestyle have to change. And for that, the youth are important. When we say youth, it's not just responsible consumption, but it's also ensuring that you lead by example. Because children don't learn whatever you teach, but they will learn by observing what you're doing. So with that, there are a couple of points I just wanted to mention. One is in terms of when you're talking about, a question was there on, climate migrants. So UNICEF has been, at the forefront of working what is called shock responsive social protection. What it means is ensure that every program that is conceptualized by the government is sensitive towards, or it has elements towards uneven or kind of shocks that come in. For instance, entire coastal region across the country, across the world is affected by untimely rains or floods. So 11 months in a year, probably you're running a program for the welfare of the people with disabilities, let us say. But in 1 month, because of excess rainfall or because of floods, that particular village is affected. How does the government scheme quickly adopt itself to address the needs of people with disabilities in disasters? 11 months is running perfectly, no challenges. So that's how we are looking at making a climate an integral part of any kind of policy or any kind of program that the government is conceiving. The equity part of it, ensuring no one is left behind. So one of the areas, in Kerala itself, in one of the Gram Panchayats, we are planning to pilot the shock responsive social protection with government support. The other thing which is very, very critical is, having these kind of platforms. The more the number of platforms we have, the better the voices will be heard. So for the past couple of years, in collaboration with the Office of the State Legislative Assembly of Kerala, we have created a platform for youth and children, which essentially is an effort towards bridging the gap between the lawmakers and the youth. It is chaired by the Honorable Speaker of Kerala Legislative Assembly, and we have a platform which meets regularly in order to provide inputs to the government. Apart from this, of course, there are various other platforms that are there, and UNICEF as such, annually around 7 lakh young people are provided voices to lend their voice to climate action. We also promote climate smart schools and also disaster plans, at school level. In Kerala, we have been supporting and using an app, come out with the disaster plans. So these are some of the initiatives that UNICEF has been playing a major role. However, it's, as already mentioned, unfortunately, we are globally the developing or on the verge of developed countries are at a large scale refugees of development that has happened in the developed countries. I remember, this entire WTO discussions right from 90s. That's when all the climate element has come in. But now it has reached a stage where the developed countries are held responsible to fund the programs. That is where it is important to link it to SDGs. If SDGs is a global agenda, the responsibility of achieving it is also global. So with those words, I'm happy to be associated. UNICEF is happy to be associated as the head of Chennai office, taking care of Tamil Nadu and Kerala. We're happy to plot up this journey. And I wish all the delegates here to use this opportunity to learn about various initiatives that each of you are doing at different states. And that can become a powerful message. You can go back and try out new things. So I hope, since I'm yet to see the final agenda, I hope you have enough time for interaction, enough time for each of you to speak. Because if you don't do that, then we cannot call this event as something which is led by youth. So I was expecting the other chairs to be occupied by youth. Thank you very much and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It was wonderful how you brought up the very important points of collaboration and the initiative that happens in almost every part of the world, and what importance the voices that they have been doing to the world. And I'm sure that a lot of us would like to be in touch with you and with the UNICEF to take this initiative forward. Now, moving forward, I would like to invite and specially thank also the director of Kila, Dr. Joy Elaman, for providing this platform to us, who's the Lcoy. And I welcome you to give your remarks on the conference, sir.
Thank you. Good morning to all. First of all, sorry that I am not able to attend physically today, but my real session is on 17th. But as the beginning of the program, I'm taking the privilege of being the Director General of Kila to address you. But I will talk in detail on 17th morning. First of all, on my personal behalf and Kila, let me welcome all of you to Kila and to this conference. Actually, it is our privilege to host you, especially because when this whole question of this conference came in, we actually thought we should not leave it like that. We should be part of it. It's actually part of our own bringing you, not just a conference being where we are collaborating. And as Mr. Rao said, we have been working on the key concept of participation. Participation not merely in terms of physical presence, but on decision making in various aspects of life. Because earlier, we all used to say, in our generation, we all were taught that today's children and youth are the citizens of tomorrow. But we have actually changed that slogan, and we now say today's children and youth are the citizens of today. And that is how the participation becomes important. Second is about the climate change. We are happy to say that Kila has been in the forefront in bringing in the agenda of addressing climate change among the local governments, where that is our mandate, among the local governments. And accordingly, we have been successful in developing a methodology for preparing local action plan on climate change by the local governments with the participation of people. And that is how we developed the methodology for local action plan on climate change, the LabCC, where we have been successful in completing the local action plan on climate change in around 274 local governments in Kerala, in the 4 districts of Alapi, Pathanamthitta, Kottayam, and Idukki. And I have to also emphasize the point that this has been done with the support of youngsters, young professionals who are working on the theme or the topic, and almost around 150 youngsters actually help the local governments in preparing the local action plan on climate change. So that is actually a great effort from the youth for developing the methodology of LabCC as well as the local action plan on climate change preparation itself. So we are happy that it is at the right moment that we are hosting this event here in Kila. And you all know that Kerala's local governments have been working on various aspects of addressing climate change and also the disaster management. And our Panchayat, Meerangadi Gram Panchayat in Wayanad district has been in the forefront in bringing in the idea of carbon neutral Panchayat, which has been taken, now it has been taken up by many other panchayats in the country. So they have become the torchbearers of carbon neutral Panchayat. But in the same way, the local action plan on climate change is also picking up, where the local people develop the action plans and they start doing it. And that is how we move forward. The third point is, as Mr. Rao rightly said, we need to think about the sustainable development. Whatever we are talking about climate change is actually leading to the sustainable development. And where the sustainable development goals become handy for us as a tool, as a framework for putting our actions in place, because climate change is not a separate theme. Rather, every activity we do has something to do with climate change, whether it is directly, whether it is adaptation, whether it's mitigation, or even the entire process of development has something to do with climate change in various ways. And where looking through the lens of SDGs become important. And people sometimes say that only that one goal which specifically mentions about climate change is part of the climate change action. No. If you look at all the 17 goals, you'll find that all of them are relevant for actions on climate change. And so we need to actually work on all the 17 goals and not a separate single goal alone. And here we have also developed something called the 9 themes. I mean, 9 themes instead of all the 17 goals, the 9 themes for action, where clean and green village considers the climate change actions directly. So we are actually working on this. Our panchayats and municipalities are actually preparing the present status. We have an SDG dashboard developed internally here, which the panchayats are using it now, where the indicators and the targets for future are also being uploaded. But now the government of India has also come up with the Panchayat Development Index, which actually gives us an idea about where we stand in climate change also. Anyway, these are all for you to have a look at it and then start thinking how you can actually work together. Because there is no point working in silos, because each of our organizations will have our own mandates and other things. But unless we work together, we are not going to address climate change. So that is the main message I would actually want to say. And that is the reason why when you people, especially the Bring Back Green team, asked us about this whole conference, we said, let's go for it. We are actually in trouble because of a lot of other programs and the financial and the logistic constraints, but still we said, no, we have to do it. And that is how we are here. But finally, I also have to say that we have been working with the Bring Back Green for the last 1.5 years, having climate parliaments organized in selected panchayats. And that is again the way how our youth can actually support the local governments in addressing climate change. Anyway, let's meet on 17th morning. This is because I have another major program being organized in Trivandrum. So that's why I have to be here in Trivandrum. But day after tomorrow, we will meet. So till then, all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And we are glad that we are at a location where we have the guidance of people like you, we have panelists like you, and who are actually doing the work, and we can learn so much from you. And we will be learning on the 3rd day where you have a session on the climate parliament. So we'll see you then. Now, to move forward and to speak about youth-led social movement towards building community-based climate resilience, I would like to invite Ms. Gurpriya Singh from Purpose. Gurpriya is a campaigner at Purpose, where she designs and implements public mobilization strategies and narrative change initiatives in India. She believes in the power of participatory methods and bring forth the voices and experiences of the community to drive sustainable and long-term social and behavioral change. So over to you, ma'am. Feel free to, yes.
It's okay. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I see many folks who are sleeping, napping. Yeah, I think you all can wake up. I'm not going to sit on the stage and speak. I'm going to be here in between all of you because I am also a part of all of you. To begin with, thank you for introducing me in such great light. But I do want to say that I am very new into the climate space, but I do have expertise and practice in working with young people. So let's begin today's session. You all are added on the Lcoy group, right? Okay, I'm not a part of it. So why don't you all take out your phones, your WhatsApp groups, whichever group you're on. So here's a question that you all have to answer in the next 1 minute. So firstly, I do want to say and acknowledge that thank you for asking such interesting questions early in the morning. as well as to all the speakers for actually putting forth important points here. And so I'm going to try and build off that conversation. So the question for you is that I am sensing a bit of dissonance, right? Like we all are living in times of anxiety. It's called climate anxiety, right? New word I've learned, Gen Z, right? Climate anxiety. So I also feel dissonance, right? I'm watching documentaries, reading news, what's happening. We are in the midst of this. How do we sort of hold ourselves in this situation, given that you all are activists and campaigners and organizers from like across the country? So I want you all to put one value that you hold on to very closely in this time that we are living in, or in your work. What is that one value which is a non-negotiable for you in this work? Yeah, you all have to just keep. Huh? No, I'm going to pick one of your phones and see it. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. So everyone got the question, right? So you can maybe introduce yourself. Hi, my name is this, I'm from here. And this is one value that I hold on to. And there's this thing on digital called a waterfall, right? When all of you would post messages together and it will be a waterfall of 100 words. And my request to the organizers would be that we try and consolidate these words in one of the reports or somewhere to see where do we place ourselves on the values that we are holding on to. Is everyone up? Acha, okay. Everyone got the question, right? One value that you hold on to. What is equity? Who has written equity on the group? Can you explain? You have to explain it on the group. What does equity mean to you? Please de-jargonize what we are writing, okay? No like policy se uthaye hue shabd. Equity. What does equity mean? You have to write that. You all can't repeat and copy words, huh? Inclusive, empathy. What are these NGO jargon that you all are using here? Please, can you all come up with like better values that you hold on to? Because you all do actually. You have 1 minute. If you all want to change, now is the time to change it. Love it. Is everyone up? Are you up? Have you written? Okay, awesome. So I'm going to read a few that stood out for me, and I'm inviting you all to share any thoughts or comments that you have. A few that stood out for me was one, friendship. Somebody here has written friendship. I really love that. Like, I think that's the core value of like doing organizing and telling stories. So that is really one that I love. I'm just going back and seeing what else do I like in that list. Wow, manifesting, choice, unlearn and learn, anti-capitalism. Love it. Anyone else? Anyone who loved reading someone else's comment or seeing anything on the group? Courage. Music, creativity. Love this. Amazing. You all can't be silent in this session, okay? You all have to speak. So is there anyone who liked what others have written or they want to reflect on what they have written? Yeah. Amazing. Do you want to just...
Hi, everyone. My name is Sohail. I work as a consultant. My name is Sohail. I come from Hyderabad and I work as a consultant to the government of Telangana. So, I think it's really important because I work in the and I see that the concept of climate change there is very different. But it's just all about privilege and the actions that have been getting to a lot of people. We have a certain bag on our back that is certain all the way. But I have a question to all of you. Just by show of that, how many of you have actually had a lot of or have worked in the rural space, like down the road to the space? And then counted as barely 15 to 20%. So I'm a little disappointed, but I think further employees will have a lot of more experience from even for those who the background, we not have the opportunity to come and find at least on that. Counting the present part is very important. They don't have a choice. I think I'd like to deliberate more on how we can create that choice. Thank you.
I think there was one more person here. Yeah.
So two other words really stood out to me. Right, for context, I'm Rasil. I work at Climate Science on climate education. That's why I really like the word open-mindedness, because I think learning about any movement, especially with climate change, it's as rooted in society as it is in science. Open-mindedness is super important to be open to the fact that we may know a lot, but we also may not know a lot. And I think similar to the way that, during COVID, when we'd have new regulations come out, we'd have to have self-correcting opinions about things. And I think applying that kind of perspective to movements like these is super important as well. That's having opinions that are self-correcting and being okay changing them. So for me, open-mindedness and kindness.
Thank you. Thank you. So, okay, I've asked for 7 minutes. Just ask Akhilesh. Okay. 5? Okay. So thank you, everyone. I had quickly, some of you know me from before, and I was telling you that I'm just going to prepare notes looking at who is in the room. So I have just prepared a few pointers that I can share with you all. These are just questions, and I invite you all to think about these questions over the next 3 days. These are also things that I am sitting with at the moment and thinking about. So the first one that I want to begin with is that climate movement cannot happen without a justice lens. And I will give you 2 examples. I have recently started going into the bricklin sector in UP, just Eid Bhatta kehte, right? Where bricks are made. And that's where I started realizing that how far away is the climate movement from where it is actually impacting the most, right? So that really sort of opens up my eyes. The second one that I want to reflect on is construction sites in Delhi. You would start seeing that October onwards, bans and conversation around that would start. A lot of us in the middle class would be like, "Haan, ban karo, acha hai," etc. But who is it impacting the most? It is impacting that woman and the child who are coming for daily wage at the construction site, right? The other thing that I want you to always think about is that climate is not going to be outside the pursuit for the conversations we have on gender or any social issues. There is intersection there always. So for me, I cannot make sense of what NAPCC, SAPCC is. For me, what matters is in like women and child development schemes, is there conversation on this or not? Are there crashes for children around construction work sites where we are saying that dust is so much? They are not there. And many of us come from cities and we are not speaking about it and we are not aware of that. To me, that's like the first lens of justice into a climate movement. I know nothing about climate, but I'm still working on some of these issues from a very strong justice lens to it, that what is happening with workers there. When we are talking about young people, the other segment that I want us to keep in mind is young people are also folks who are doing gig work today. They're also folks who are in the farming community. They are doing informal work. Where are they in this homogeneous group, right? How is a gig worker talking about climate change? Have we ever found them speaking about it? Their conversation on climate change is going to be about days when they're unable to get us our orders on that day. It is going to be about everyday changes in their lives, and they have to be part of these conversations. That's like another lens, which is youth is not a homogeneous group in which we might be situated today. Like someone said, that it is very much about representation and who is in the room as well. The third thing that I was reflecting, and I was reading the story somewhere where it said, you know, ye youth ne na climate ko leke, they took out a morcha. So the guard there asked, so what are you all doing? And they were unable to articulate what we are doing here. What are we doing? Do the guards at Killa know what is this conference about? What are you going to go and tell them? What are we talking about? So we need to have language and articulation for what we are speaking, which is backed by our own experiences. Otherwise, we would be talking like, what is GHG? How does that impact me? I am leading my life as I am every day, right? So what is our language and articulation? And that leads me to another aspect of storytelling. I was supposed to speak on storytelling, so I'm going to leave you with a few thoughts, which is that I always talk about the power of symbols in storytelling and the role of art and culture. I was listening to this podcast where in Poland, during the war, there were like underground movements and things like that. And anyone who has been to Poland, I haven't been there, you see a lot of Dworska public murals across the city. And if you try and read about it, it is actually linked to one of the movements that happened, right? So what is the visibilization of our work? How are we using local art and culture and humor? Like, we can't be like so restrictive, climate change ho raha. Like, where is the humor in the situation that we are in? And can we bring that into counter whatever is happening today, right? And that also leads to the same point that Anik asked in the beginning, which is there is this dissonance, right? We are asked to collaborate, but there's also so much happening around us every day, and we are going to do a field visit tomorrow that we are going to see. So that's just another thought that I want to leave you with, which is using more storytelling methods in whatever work you all do. Yeah, I think something that I heard, so my work is a lot on gender and sexuality. So I heard someone say in that conference, which is also applicable here, which is, उस दिन हमारा win होगा जिस दिन these conversations are not happening in a room but खुले आसमां के नीचे हो रही है, right? When it is for mass constituencies and everyone is a part of it and there is articulation for it, right? So I always want you all to think about wherever you're situated in whatever, like college forums, organizations, movements, how are we communicating about the issue? The other thing that I do want to highlight is that through whatever little work that I have done on climate, we are seeing that the impacts are intersectional. We all read about it, right? Pad liya, intersectional, but what is intersectional? And that leads me to the other point, which is what is happening in climate change is just an exaggeration, which is already happening in our society. It is just a mirror replication of it. There's nothing different, right? If I pick up this women community that migrates from Banda, Bundelkhand area, say, they are migrating because they've never had access to water. And access to water and land is a caste issue. And they are going to continue migrating because water levels and drought has increased. They will go to a situation like a Brooklyn. So unless and until we open our eyes to like the social intersections of where people are placed, we cannot come up with anything on climate. Yeah, and lastly, I was reading this Guardian article which talks about climate doomers versus climate deniers. It talks about that, of course, in all our work, we are dealing with deniers, right? My parents are deniers, my friends are deniers. And then when I was reading it, I realized that am I falling into the category of a doomer where I'm unable to make sense of the world that I'm living in? And I just want to leave you all with like one inspirational good morning thought that everyone receives on WhatsApp. It says, I wonder sometimes if it's because people assume you can't be hopeful and heartbroken at the same time. And of course you can. In times when everything is fine, hope is unnecessary. Hope is not happiness or confidence or inner peace. It's a commitment to search for possibilities. Feelings deserve full respect as feelings, but all they inform you about is you. Yeah, and then it talks about history is full of people who were committed, etc., etc. So yeah, I think these were just some thoughts that I jotted down, listening to all your questions in the morning, reflecting on my journey. And I will pause here if there are like any questions for me. But I do want to say that I am from an organization called Purpose. Our website is purpose.com. How cool. But we work across 9 states. We have been very grateful of working with the Bring Back Green in Kerala. We have work in Maharashtra, Bihar, UP, Odisha. You will never see Purpose's name out there. We are represented by youth movements and the work we do. And so with UN, we have done collectivizing young people called We the Change that I think many of you were part of. We are building a women's collective on climate. It's a solidarity group called Women's Climate Collective. It is on Facebook. We are looking at gender sexuality under a campaign name called Baatein Unlocked. I love how cool Purpose campaign names are. And lastly, in Mumbai, the campaign is called Ministry of Mumbai's Magic. Can someone tell me why is it called Ministry of Mumbai's Magic? Yes. Who else? What about Harry Potter? Why is that campaign called Ministry of Mumbai's Magic? Could be. Could be. Yeah, so there the campaign was targeting young people like you who had political power at the time when Aditya Thackeray was in the ministry. And so we wanted to create a brand that resonates with people, and it's called Ministry of Mumbai's Magic. Bengaluru brand is called Bengaluru Moving. Of course, transportation, mobility related. Our work in Brooklyn is called Bunyad. Our work on air pollution in Delhi is called Help Me Breathe. So you will see these brands and names across, and behind which is a team that works really hard by identifying new youth groups, funding new youth groups, giving them a platform to represent. Yeah, that's about it. And I'm happy to take any quick questions on all the 5 pointers that I gave. Were they cool? No, you don't, no pressure, guys, no pressure. Any questions that you all have? Okay.
Let's take, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Indeed, a wonderful session, and we would love to engage with you tomorrow in your session. I'm sure there are a lot of questions that you will ask. So with the closing of our inaugural ceremony, I would like to thank Sri Amit Rajji from the ministry, Mr. KL Rao from UNICEF, Dr. Joy from Kila, and Ms. Gurpriya from Purpose for joining us for the inaugural. And now we break for the tea, but before that, we have some announcements for which I would like to invite Srishti.
So yes, we have high tea now, and of course, we are going to network for the next 3 days, right starting from today. So I'll be talking in Hindi and English because I'm more comfortable in Hindi. So yes, since we have just finished the inaugural ceremony, so of course we want a group